Hey YouTube, how's it going today? We are going to go over something that I see very frequently on various social media platforms, Facebook, Discord. Um, People ask the question a lot, hey, I'm just starting out. I've kind of missed the boat on this basketball sports card investor shenanigans. Where do I start? What should I buy? Um, those sorts of questions. So the primary answer to that is, what are you in it for? Are you in it to collect? Are you in it to flip, invest, whatever you want to call it? Um, are you in it for the quote unquote hobby? A lot of the people coming to it right now are looking at it more from the investment standpoint, and that's fine. That's not primarily, that's a major reason why I started back up again last year. But a lot of people just want to collect their favorite player, favorite team, or whatever. So that's the first thing you need to ask yourself. What are we trying to do here? Because if it's just to collect a certain player or a certain team, then none of the stuff matters. Just go out, pick up the stuff that you want for those individual singles, and roll with the punches. You're not in it to sell it down the line for a bunch of money. If you're looking to get into this and trying to quote unquote build your bankroll, it could be very difficult right now because the prices are astronomical on stuff. Um, Buying sealed product and ripping it is one way you can certainly go, but for the purposes of this conversation, let's pretend we have around $100 budget. You know, you got a little bonus, you sold something, you got $100. Let's check out this sports card shenanigan and see what it's all about. If that's the case, ripping wax is not the way to go. Ripping wax is rarely the way to go from an investment standpoint. It's almost always a money loser, especially if you're paying the markup prices that are out there right now. So I think your best bet if you're just starting out is target a couple of key players, cards, whatever, and build from there. Now, whether you're investing or collecting, you should go after who you know or who you like. Don't collect a player or invest in a player that you just don't like. Maybe, James Harden is not a very popular player among NBA fans. Maybe you hate James Harden. Don't go into it and say, hey, let me pick up some James Harden rookies on the cheap and see what happens. Because it's not going to be fun for you to sit down and watch the NBA every night rooting for James Harden if you don't like James Harden. So pick players that you like and pick players that you want to follow. There's money to be made in most of these guys. It's just a matter of picking the right players and the right cards. So for the purposes of this, we're going to look at 4 different players, and it's probably beyond Giannis, who we're not going to talk about today. Probably 4 of the most popular players right now. And how you can enter in with around $100 budget and get plenty of cards, potentially with a profit, potentially with them, uh, potentially with them having the upside to earn more if you want to start getting in the grading and things like that. So we'll start with the big one first. And when I say big one, not necessarily the card, but the player, Zion. Pretty much the main driver of this crazy 2019/20 season/market that we are all living. So if you're just getting into the game and you only have $100 to spend, there's not a lot of options for you regarding Zion or rookies. However, a good one is his base Donruss paper rookie. It is this card right here. These currently, oops, sorry for bumping the camera there. These currently go for, I have the chart pulled up here, a little over 20 to 25 bucks, give or take. I've purchased these in the high teens. That was a few months ago. I purchased them in the low 20s. They relatively stay fairly stable. They go up a little bit, but they lag behind everything else. So you could pick up one of these, two of these, around 20 to 25 bucks a piece, fairly easily. One of the reasons why I like this card is, so if you look at the chart here, we have two lines going on here. The bottom line is raw. The top line is the PSA 10 of this card. So I'm going to scroll down here, and this is the Market Movers tools that I'm using here. It's just easier to show this stuff in this than pulling up a bunch of random eBay listings and doing it that way. So I have gone back, this is June 10th to July 10th. So I went back the last 30 days. So in that 30-day period, the base Donruss ungraded started at about $20, has gone up to about $25. So it's gone up almost 25%, which in any walk of life, a 25% return in 30 days is really good. The PSA 10 has only gone up about 15%, but here's the kicker here. The PSA 10 of this card sells for around $200 easily. I see it go for $190, $195, $200, but right in that range, they sell fairly well, right under $200. So a $20 card plus grading fees, you could turn into $200. Now, don't go on eBay and buy up every Zion base Donruss thinking they're $200 bills on the tree, and you just got to go back to the money tree in the backyard and pick them. That is not the case. One thing to note specifically about these base Donruss cards, they are a centering nightmare. They have 4 white sides that you can see here, and they love to be off center, left, right, top, bottom. You'll see a thin line, large line, small line, whatever, and it just kills the grading. In addition, on paper cards, the non-chrome cards, the corners ding a lot easier. Now you don't have to worry about surface issues quite as much on these, so scratches, dimples, etc. They do happen, but not as much as you see like on a prism or an optic. So what I would recommend doing, and you don't have to go the grading route. You could have bought these for 20 bucks. They've already gone up to 25. They're probably going to go up more. Sell them in a couple months, make 5 or 10 bucks a card, and now we've turned our 20 bucks per card into $25 or $30 per card. You're up $10 per card. Now, yeah, there's going to be fees in there and shipping and all that other shenanigans, but there's ways you can work around some of that stuff, selling off eBay, all that jazz. We're not going to get into the weeds on that, but it does matter. That stuff does add up. But yeah, just be careful on centering on these. But if you get a good one and it looks in good shape, send it off for grading. Pay the 10 or 20 bucks, depending on what service level you want to use for PSA. Or whoever you want to use. PSA we'll use for this example because it's the easiest and most prevalent. Send it off to PSA. Maybe you pull a 10. Now your $20 card plus your $10 to $20 in grading fees now turned into $200. So now you're way up. So maybe month one you buy these. You have your $100 for the month of July. You pick up a couple of these and a couple of the other cards, and then maybe month 2 you buy a little less, but you send these off for grading and see what happens. It's going to take a couple months to get those back, but you could hit big. What I would recommend doing if you're going to do grading of especially these types of cards is spend the 10 or 15, I think they're about 15 bucks. And this will be hard to see on the video because it's clear. Get one of these centering tools. They sell them on eBay. They're 15 bucks shipped, and you could use it. I'm not going to go into detail how this works, but if you are unsure on centering, you can lay this over the card and very quickly at least eyeball centering and get a good idea if you even want to think about sending it in. It's not perfect, but this saves me a ton of time. So I would recommend picking one of these up for as cheap as they are if you decide to take it seriously. So Zion base Donruss is card 1 that I would consider if I was on a $100 budget. So we could get one of these for 20, 25 bucks. Let's call it 25. And we still have $75 to play with. So let's move on to card number 2. And that is this bad boy. So we're going to switch over to Ja Morant. And this is Optic, which is a little bit higher end product. Um, it's not the king of the world that Prism is, but Optic is probably the second most well-respected product of the basketball cards out there. This Ja Morant base Optic, you can see on the chart here, once again, we have the PSA 10 up, and we have the base. If I scroll down here, you can see and once again, this is going back 30 days. As of 30 days ago, it was about $30 a card. Right now, they are at about $40 a card. I checked eBay this morning. You could still find them in the 30s. In eBay auctions and whatnot. You can still get this card for around $30, give or take, depending on the condition and centering and whatnot. But, once again, you see the PSA 10 on this is upwards of 200. So not as big as a gap here, which is interesting. In regards to the Zion, which you could get for half as much, still sells for about the same as the Optic Ja. But regardless, you can see there's a pretty nice profit return here by going up to the PSA 10. Once again, no guarantee you're going to get the PSA 10, but I could tell you these Ja's I was buying for back when Optic first came out, or shortly thereafter. I was getting these for around $20 a pop, $25 a pop. I've sent some off to grading, they're there now, and then these are the ones that I did not necessarily think they passed the grade. Same thing on this one, all the white sides, you got to be careful, but for around $30 to $35, you could get yourself a really well-respected card brand and Optic of one of the better players, Ja Morant, as something to hold on to. And you can see, oops, sorry, on the chart there, you can see on the chart there that this has moved along quite nicely, and I could see that trend continuing as the playoffs pick back up again. So, we got Zion, we got Ja, and let's talk about our next one, and that is Luka. So Luka cards are insane. I tried to find a Luka rookie that would fit on this, but it would chew up most of the budget, even looking at a base Donruss or base Hoops. So I wanted to give you guys plenty of options, depending on the player you liked, or also to diversify, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So this is the Luka 2019 non-rookie year Prism base card. These, once again, went back 30 days. 30 days ago, we're selling for $10 a piece. They are now up to 16. They've gone up 50% in 30 days. And the PSA 10 of these are going for a little over $100, and they are up about 10%. There's not as much sales data on those, but they are starting to come back from PSA. Sorry for jumping the screen around on you guys. But once again, even if you just bought these raw by the pile, you bought 10 of these raw a month ago at $10 a piece, that's $100. Now that's $150 on just a base Prism card. And the other thing about base Prism, these are very easy to see centering on. Count the dots on either side. And if you have equal dots on each side, it's probably decently centered. That's not perfect, but it's a lot easier than trying to, have your eyes go wonky looking at all these white sides trying to figure out if one's thinner than another. But yeah, just a simple base Prism Luka. Very easy, very cheap. There's plenty of these, sorry Luka, plenty of these laying around that you could find on eBay or whatever. And, just sit on them and hold them or grade them, whatever. Hold the ones that you don't think pass mustard on the grading, and then sell the rest. But once again, this is a $10 card a month ago that is now at 15, and if they win a round or two in the playoffs, this could be easily a $20, $25 card within a month. But that could easily happen depending on how the Mavericks do. And from a long-term perspective, second-year cards are becoming a thing now. And second-year Prism is the one that you would want to have when it comes to brands. Prism is king. It leads the charge for everything. So that's Luka, once again, just to give you guys some options. And then the last one we're going to talk about is the big man himself, LeBron. So we're going to go back to the same thing, LeBron base prism. That's what you see down here. This one, this graph is a day out of date, and I went back an extra 10 days on this one just to capture some more data. These currently are going for about 25, I would say between 20 and 30 bucks. They are recently, very recently, like as in the last 24 to 48 hours, ramping up again. Um, so you may be looking at more like 25 to 30 per card versus 20 to 25 per card. But once again, you can see in a PSA 10, these go for over $200. Um, and this is another card. If the Lakers make a run in the playoffs, which, spoilers, they probably should, this card will continue to go up. The reason why this base card goes for so much is because it's Prism, and it's considered his Lakers rookie for Prism because last year his Prism card, he was wearing a Cavs jersey because of the when Prism prints. This is his first quote-unquote Lakers Prism card. His actual first card in a Lakers jersey was an 18-19 Optic card last year, which also sells for very well. So little upfront investment, 20 to 30 bucks a card, and has great potential to go up very quickly, very soon, or would be a very good long-term hold if you think LeBron does well in the purple and gold. Same thing on that note. LeBron base optic of this year. Now, this year's is not as desirable because it's not his first optic card on a Lakers jersey, but these still do really well. That's what you see at the top part of this chart. These were going for as little as $3.50 a card. They are now up to $5 a card. That's a 42% increase. And there is very few PSA 10s of these yet because of the timing of this. Optic released in February and March, and most people aren't spending big dollars for quick turnaround on base LeBron cards at PSA, so they're probably stuck mostly in bulk and economy orders. So you're looking at 2 to 3 month turnaround time. So there's not a lot of pop count on these yet. However, you can see right now a $5 card in a PSA 10 is going for $85. And once again, as the playoffs ramp up and LeBron starts LeBroning in the playoffs, this card has great potential to go way up, both the base or both the raw and the PSA 10 version. And we're talking about $5 a card on these. Once again, centering is very tricky on these, so if you're purchasing with the idea of grading, be wary of centering. And it's a chrome card, so be wary of surface issues. And don't forget about back centering as well. Everyone looks at front centering and forgets about back. Back centering is also very important when you're talking about grading. So, yeah, if you only had $100 to spend in the hobby, you could easily get to review here. So you could get one of these Zions for, let's call it 25. Okay. You could get a Ja for 30, so that's 55. You could get a LeBron base Prism for, let's say, 25. So that's 80. Kick on a Luka base, that's 95. And then throw in a LeBron optic base for an even 100. And you've gotten yourself 5 cards and 5 of the hottest names in the league right now, with probably the most possibility of going way up in the playoffs. Zion may or may not make the playoffs. Either one of Zion or Ja's getting in. Whatever one does, it's going to be bonkers because they're going to play the Lakers in the first round most likely. LeBron's going to make a deep playoff run pretty much no matter what, and Luka's kind of a wild card. They should make it around maybe 2. But either way, these are also good long-term holds as well. If you didn't want just the quick flip, these wouldn't be bad cards to sit on. And next year, whenever the NBA playoffs roll around, these will probably have gone way up. So, once again, if you're on a low budget and you're trying to figure out what to get, you have plenty of options out there and plenty of options to get big time players. Yeah, you're not going to be able to get a Luka Prism rookie card raw. Those go for $250, but you get this stuff. It goes up a little bit. Maybe you grade a couple of them. Um, you sell those ones that are graded. Now your $100 investment turned into $200 or $300. Now maybe you can go out and get yourself a Luka Optic PSA 9 or a PSA 10 or whatever, depending on what prices are at that point in time. But um, there are the point of this video is to show you that there are options to work your way into this hobby with a lower budget. Hell, if you had 25 bucks to spend, you can get, 3 of these and maybe a Luka base. That's 30-ish. And that's not a bad place to start. Or even 5 of these. 5 of these base LeBron optics for 25 bucks. Pay attention to what you're buying. You grade one. Okay, that's 90 bucks. Now, now you're up, 60 bucks if you factor in grading fees and whatnot. Um, so that, to me, that's the best way to do it if you're just starting out. Look at stuff like this. Um, it's not sexy. It's not flashy, but it's a way that you could easily grind out a profit on a very low budget. Is it risky? Yeah, grading is no guarantee, and that's why I wouldn't bank on the grading. Um, but it's an option to kind of boost yourself um, on the grading front, or on the profit front. But that's all I got for you guys today. If you have any questions um, about this sort of topic, just go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Once again, like, sub, all the YouTube shenanigans helps out everybody. So we will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.